Welcome back, everybody. It is Dem Boys Watch Footy. It's your guy E here. We have TC and Waja trying to give you some hard hitting facts about the world of football this weekend. How's everybody doing today?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Glad to be back. It's the weather was pretty good this past weekend. It was sunny outside. The games were playing. Yeah, can't complain. But I think we're about to get some rain, so I hope you managed to get outside and enjoy the weekend.
Yeah.
No, thanks you. And Waja, great to see you guys again. As Waja said, a lot of temperamental things in the football world, and excited to jump straight into it.
Oh, for sure. To piggyback off of Waj's comment about the weekend, we are based in New York, and from 80 degrees, it went to 50 degrees in exactly 1 hour. We were trying to get a game of footy going, and it ended up everybody being in jackets and blankets. Just anything can happen on the stop of a dime, no matter what in this world right now. But
Mother Nature was like, "Nah, son."
exactly judiciously and said, get your ass back in the house. So it was something to behold. But we are coming here to you today. It is the last day of Women's History Month. So wanted to make sure that we give a little bit of thoughts and praise out to all of those women that are out here doing historic things every day.
Absolutely.
For sure. Well, we want to start talking with you guys today about what happened this past weekend with the FA Cup. We had a few predictions in our live show. It was based on YouTube and Twitch this past weekend. PJ and I, we had around 1 out of 4 that we hit on. PJ actually hit on 3 out of 4, so he was actually pretty much carrying everything for the predictions on that side. But a lot of big things have happened. A lot of small things went awry. My Bournemouth versus Manchester City pick, it was looking really good in the first half, not going to lie. And then City just came out. But Erling Haaland decided to get hurt. So, gents, would love to know, what did you think about the FA Cup? And now that everybody's going to Wembley for the semifinals, who do you think is going to win it?
So, yeah, I thought it was interesting results. I think for Man City fans, we're starting to see a bit of the repetitive nature there. But as you said, I think what you did see is them pick it up and finish really strongly. As you said, Erling Haaland picking up an injury, Aston Villa getting past Preston North End, Rashford getting 2. Glad to see him get his first, which I think was really great as well. And I think one of the great games that I saw this weekend was definitely Brighton versus Nottingham Forest. 2 teams that have really surprised us in the Premier League with just their style of play and how high they've been playing, how great they've been playing, Nottingham Forest specifically. And that continued in this game. High energy, high tempo, great football across the park. No goals, actually, which was really surprising until late, and then Nottingham Forest again doing it. So anytime you win a trip to Wembley, as you guys will know, is a great experience. So I think, and looking forward to the next round, it's definitely, some good matchups coming up. The other one that I saw as well was obviously Fulham and Crystal Palace. Didn't go the way I expected. I expected Fulham to be a bit stronger with the 3-0 loss there. Fulham having played very well, very compact side, play with good flowing football in the middle of the park. They've got some good strong players, some pace out wide. Crystal Palace also has some very good technical footballers in Eze. So it was very surprising away from home. Although in London Derby, I had no idea that it was going to be a complete 3-0. So that one is going to be an interesting, active one for Fulham, knowing how good they've been consistently through the Premier League. But well done to Crystal Palace. Yeah.
I actually chose not. I chose to stay out of this one in terms of my bets. I just wanted to watch the good old FA Cup for its purity. But I did want Bournemouth to at least draw one back. I'm sorry, one more back. But of course, 2-1, that was expected for me. Villa, I mean, that was a great match. But Preston North End, at least for the first half, they were definitely pushing. But Villa they had all the heat today. Or sorry, over the weekend. And again, like you said, Rashford 2 goals. That penalty was just cold-blooded. So, for them, it was expected, of course, to see if we're going to go 3-0, but it was good to see Rashford, at least look like he was enjoying playing again,
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, that was the biggest thing that I took out of. That's why I wanted to watch that match so much, was just seeing Rashford playing again, just making great runs, good balls. And again, he's playing with a great young squad as well. So, he's the senior statesman on that team. So not surprising. So very, very good for him. Let's see what else he can carve up for the rest of the season. Brighton and Forest, man, that was, like you said, that one was, I didn't get to watch the full thing, but seeing it go to 4-3 in penalties, I was quite shocked. But at the same time, Forest has had their best season in how long? Decades upon decades. So, I want to see how far they're going to go into the end of the season. I don't know, obviously, to go above us, but hey, I'll be shocked if they can make it to third and they can keep it. I would be really happy for them.
Yeah, us, as Elijah is referring to, as Arsenal Football Club. We are big supporters, excluding TC. TC is a big Manchester United supporter, so want to make sure that everybody... Yeah, just want to make sure that everybody understands what squads that we are supporting over here.
Eric, if I could raise one point that I think Waja delicately touched on is Rashford playing well, and I think that slightly lifts the lid on another issue, which I'm sure we'll go into another episode, in terms of the psychology around football players and what that means this day and age, because we're seeing so many players that seem to do, specifically Man United players, that seem to do so well away from Manchester United. Now, the different coaches. Now, is that environment, is that the pressure, one of the more heavy medium? So I think it's just something interesting to find, because we've seen a number of players and managers back players about their psyche. And obviously Rashford had a celebration based off that. And it does tend to be a certain kind of player, if I don't mind to say, a certain racial-based player that always tends to be labeled as needs psychological issues. And it's something I'd love to touch on at some point, to go dive deeper into Sancho's, the Rashfords, the
I was going to say Sancho.
There's a lot of, and that's this. I know, we're talking about, but this is a higher issue here that I really would love to dive into, because when you start to look at these day and age against what other players had to deal with without social media, intense media scrutiny that we have today, it's crazy. We don't have it in our jobs every day, right? And imagine we did have this company like social media. You were shit today all day. You know what I mean? And we can on this. Obviously, you're more than free to comment in the YouTube in the comment section. But do you know what I mean? And I think it's just something to note that getting away from that, less scrutiny, less media focus that's on the shit house that is Manchester United, has slightly allowed him to get that smile.
Mm-hmm. No, it's been good to see, and where you're trying to direct us right now, as, I mean, we get it all the time. Like, even most recently, our Brazil versus Argentina prediction, we have been getting slaughtered online about how a lot of us, majority of us had voted for Brazil to win that match and come back. Argentina won 4-1 over Brazil. We've actually been slaughtered online. A lot of comments actually flooded in, laughing at us and things like that. So I can only imagine being a football player, having to deal with that type of scrutiny, that type of,
absolutely,
that limelight of always having to carry everything for yourself, your race, your family, all of that, all incompensated within just playing for a badge of a team that can get rid of you if they want, as evidenced by how Rashford is currently playing for Aston Villa. And then you have Jadon Sancho currently playing for Chelsea, both on loan deals. And so what we're seeing right now is another very interesting story that's about to happen, that we can kind of wrap this topic up for right now, is Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's decided to sign for Real Madrid in the offseason. He's going on a free, and he's going to be able to join Real Madrid with no fee at the end of the season. That's what going for free means. And he's getting battered online right now because a lot of the Liverpool fans are upset, even though he was able to achieve just about everything with Liverpool FC.
Yeah.
He is a player that has achieved more than... He's a Liverpool born and raised kid, black kid, having to go through playing with all of the expectations of playing for your favorite team, and then as well winning with your favorite team. He's been scrutinized as not being the best defender in the world, but it doesn't matter, because he puts amazing results to drive teams to win. And so it's very harrowing understanding the different issues that players that look like us have to deal with on a normal basis, especially with different media issues. Laj, I'll let you get the final say on this topic.
Yeah, I mean, I think you both said everything that needs to be said there. I think it's part of the game that they have to go into, especially someone like Trent, and someone like, Rashford, to see them coming out of even as academy players, coming all the way through, especially for Trent Alexander-Arnold, coming all the way from academy, winning everything, as you said, to possibly win, and still taking that vitriol to the point that he might even, make a U-turn and even possibly stay at Liverpool. I was just reading that today. That's a lot of pressure for for a young man. He's still young. But at this point, I mean, what else has he got to win at Liverpool? And I think for players like this, especially for young black players, they've come through academies and do everything they can for their clubs and their communities. Let them go and cook somewhere else. Let him go to Real Madrid. What else has he got to prove to you in Liverpool? He's done everything. Give the man his flowers, like any other player, and let him go and let him go do great things at Real Madrid and finish out his career with on a very, very high note.
Completely agree with you there. And I would love to continue that conversation. We can bring this topic up another episode in the future. And then as well, online, would love to hear from any of our listeners, or if anybody has something that they want to give on that conversation, would love to hear from you on that. Want to give a little bit of love to our listeners from the live listening session that we had this past Friday. It was our first time trying that medium out, and definitely won't be the last. We're going to try to keep coming to you with that. And then as well, we're based on Spotify. We're based on Apple Podcasts. We are on YouTube. Wherever you get your podcast consumption, we are most likely in. So yeah, continue to give us some likes, some love, and I will keep trying to regale you with some amazing takes or some terrible takes, some terrible betting tips.
It's all a gamble.
Exactly.
Looks like you find a bootleg tape in someone's.
Let's hope people's ambitions don't take them that far. Remember, bet responsibly out here. All right. So our next topic that we want to dive right into, Premier League soccer is back over in England. There are 8 match days left of this entire season. It's kind of insane, as our first season led into the very beginning of this past year, and our second season is starting at the end of this calendar year of football. It's been quite the ride. Liverpool are currently ahead in the table at number 1. They are the odds-on favorite to win right now. Arsenal is number 2. Nottingham Forest is number 3. Within that quote-unquote title race, it's kind of over right now. But as Arsenal fans, you can say never until never. But I'm kind of waving a flag.
You can say never now.
Kind of waving a flag.
It's a wrap, guys.
Yeah.
It's a wrap.
But this week, there's still matches to play. There's still different things that people are playing for. You have teams that are fighting to not be relegated. You have teams that are fighting to make European places. We just saw Newcastle secure a European place, at least in the UEFA Conference League, by winning the Carling Cup these last 2 weeks ago. And so right now, it used to be the Carling, now the Carabao. So we have these match days. We have Arsenal versus Fulham, a London derby happening tomorrow. We have Wolverhampton versus West Ham. That's happening tomorrow. So gents, let's start off with the match happening tomorrow with Arsenal versus Fulham. Waj, I'll start with you. Anything that you'd like to see? Any quick predictions?
Well, 2 words. Saka's back. Saka's back, baby. I'm so excited. I am so excited, guys. My man is back. Little Chile is back on the pitch. It's a home match, and we are favored to win. So he's going to be playing against, of course, some of his old academy mates, including Emil Smith-Rowe. I mean, I think it's going to be at least 2 goals to Arsenal, but let's see. I'll always be I'll always be betting on the high side for these matches, but it's going to be a good derby. So can't wait for that one. And honestly, I mean, Marino has been playing his role well. We know he is not a striker. He is absolutely a midfielder, but he's been playing his role well. So let's see how we can link up with Saka, and also Martinelli's back. So we've lost Calafiori we actually don't know how long, I believe. So he's out, but of course we've got like 17 more left backs, so I'm not too worried. So yeah, man, let's get it going. Let's get these points on the board, and we'll take second place like a true former champion.
For sure. Right before I send it over to TC, I do want to state some facts that are going on. Arsenal have never lost in 31 home league matches against Fulham. But Fulham are unbeaten in their last 3 league games against Arsenal, winning 1 at home and drawing 2 on the road at the Emirates. TC, with those stats, would love to hear where your head is for this match.
Arsenal fans are full of shit and so full of bullshit. That's all I have to say. This is the problem with Arsenal fans. You're so far deluded that it's unbelievable. You are deluded. I think that I'm not in general. I was just going back to some of the things that Waja was saying specifically. I think you're right. This at home is a very strong opportunity for Arsenal. Saka being back, very, very strong. I think you've been missing that, so looking forward to that. I've been liking the way Arsenal have been playing this season, so to be fair, I think deserve it. to be where they are. But not title chasers, but like keeping their fans deluded. They've played some great football this season, and unfortunately, they've just had key positions have let them down at key times of the season.
You mean losing our whole front line? Yeah. And that'll do it to you.
I apologize to you guys out there if you are Arsenal fans. If you're not, then this. This is a Netflix series. We'll see you next season.
All the way from down below 10.
So TC,
I just think that Arsenal fans are deluded. I think in this game I am going for Arsenal. However, I don't think it's going to be as easy as my man over there was saying it with the soccer being back. I think let's see how you should do, but I am putting for Arsenal to win this.
Okay. Let us quickly go on to the Wolves versus West Ham.
Wait. What's your pick?
I mean, easily Arsenal. I was going with a 3-1 win, especially after watching what happened between Crystal Palace and Fulham on the weekend in the FA Cup.
Mm-hmm.
I was not expecting a 3-0 win for Crystal Palace, and Fulham had their entire starting lineup going. I'm hopeful, especially because Arsenal, in the very few times that they get chances to rest, they usually play really well the next match. So even though we have injuries, we have Starboy coming back. So a lot of good things to see. Arsenal 3-1 in that one. I want to quickly say for the West Ham Wolves match, Cunha, the Brazilian man of mystery, he just re-signed with Wolves, but he's still out for suspension right now in that matchup between West Ham. So I'm going to pull for a West Ham win over Wolves. Let's go into the Manchester United versus Nottingham Forest match. TC, what do you want to see in that?
Look, I think as we all know, the Manchester United have had one of not greatest seasons. We'll call it an Arsenal type season. However, Nottingham Forest are flying, as you saw the whole season, just behind Arsenal, top 14. They've already beaten us this season. I unfortunately have an ex-girlfriend who supports Nottingham Forest, so I would do anything for them to lose to Manchester United. But I really can't see Manchester United beating Nottingham Forest. To be fair, at the moment, if rumors are to be told, during practice this week there was an under 15 versus a first team game at Carrington. That's where Manchester United train, and the under 15 scored in the first 5 minutes of this training game against the first team. Ruben Amorim walked out of the training. He left. He was so disgusted.
No, you serious?
He was so disgusted. He left. Yeah, he left.
That is fantastic.
So I think that if anything, I think we will see like you. We've had a rest, didn't play anything this weekend, but I love my boys, but I'm going for a 2-0. You know what? I lied. Bruno Fernandes. I forgot 2-1. Bruno with the 1.
Okay, very emphatic. Let's go with a quick fire, really quick. Southampton versus Crystal Palace. I'll go for a Crystal Palace win.
Crystal Palace.
Bournemouth versus Ipswich Town. I'm going with a Bournemouth win.
Bournemouth.
All right. Brighton versus Aston Villa. I'm going for a 2-2 draw. Brighton got hurt in that penalty loss. Like, I feel as though that they're going to come back with some fight. They're still fighting for a European place. Mm-hmm. Villa still need to win out to at least ensure that they'll have Champions League spot available at the end of the season. Having such a strong season and not getting that far would be a travesty for them. But I'm still going for a 2-2 draw.
I think it's going to be a draw as well, or at least it's going to be very closely contested. Villa on a high, Brighton are not. They are, just a few points between each other in the table, and they both have not had the rest. So I'm going for a draw. I'd say, I want to actually go 2-2 as well, if not 3-2 with the last minute goal in some sort of way. I don't see any either team running away with it.
So who's that 3-2 leaning towards?
For me, it's going to be Villa.
Is that because of Rashford?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, no, look, they've got this new high right now, but Brighton is still ahead of them in the table. Let's not get it twisted. So, let's see what happens. But Rashford is scoring again. Aren't you so happy, TC? Your Jesus is scoring again. Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to make that fee in the summer for whichever club wants to come and buy him. Mm-hmm. It's going to make it that much more sweeter for you. So I'm glad that these things are happening. Okay, let us keep going. We have Newcastle versus Brentford. Newcastle just won their first trophy in 70-odd years. Mm-hmm. I feel as though they are ripe for an upset. They are playing at home, and Brentford very direct. Their forwards can hit you in some random quick fire counterattacks. You never know with this squad. So I'm gonna put out a 2-1 win for Brentford over Newcastle.
Great. What do you think, TC?
Look, it's interesting you say that, Eric. Newcastle is one of the only teams that has one of the only towns that has a one-team town in the Premier League. They, I don't know if you saw their parade at Newcastle, was insane. So I think that in itself carries a bit impetus on them. They've got a great manager. They got bank. Okay, they're the richest team in the world. They've won a cup. They can only go up. But have not been playing well, boys, to be fair. So I'm really going for a Newcastle to keep sweeping through this. If the sun comes out of Newcastle and it can really go down. The Geordies go crazy. If the sun comes out and they play really well, you're forgetting about one of their strikers, which I'm sure we'll talk about a bit later. They have one of the great strikers of the Premier League currently who is scoring goals. So it's kind of hard to ignore that. They've got an Italian gambler who has had 8 months off, finessing his craft in the form of a wannabe Pirlo who is playing like an Italian maestro that you buy. He is like a Ferrari, okay? The Tonali I'm talking about. So
Yes.
I see Newcastle is one of those teams that is really only getting stronger, people. The black and white, the Toonami. I'm going for Toonami win here. Absolute Toonami win here. 2-0, or Eric will buy us a trip to the DR.
Well, I'm also gonna go for 2-0. I mean, based off everything in that colorful rant by TC, he hit on all the main points. Look, Alexander Isaac has 19 goals, 19 goal involvements. I mean, the man is absolutely on fire. Could Brentford pull a goal in? Yeah, I mean, it's Brentford, right? Like they play strong. You said they play very direct, and they're very unrelenting. But just if it's a good day, up at the stadium, then oh my days, it's gonna be a match. And there's only a 3-point difference right now between the two. No, it's a 3-point difference. 3-point difference. No, it's a 6-point difference. 6-point difference between the teams. Brentford have also, like, they've lost one, drawn one, and they've only won 3 in the past 5. It's going to be Newcastle all the way, and they've had a bit more of a rocky. I think they've lost 3 and won 2 in the past, but they just, like you said, they've got the high from the cup, from the Carabao, and they're going to have that expectation to have another win this weekend. Sorry, tomorrow.
Well, they play Wednesday. Well,
sorry, guys.
Yeah, you're good. Manchester City versus Leicester. I believe even with Haaland out, Leicester City, they're fighting for survival and they're not looking strong. So just going for a straight up Manchester City, probably 4-0 win. Umar Mamouche just going crazy now that he gets to have the striker position all by himself. Liverpool versus Everton.
But we have to, lest we forget that this is still going to be a Merseyside derby.
Yeah.
So we never know what's going to happen. And yes, Liverpool will say all those things, but I speak to all the toffees out there when I say, please, guys, please, do me a favor. Pull a win out. Just make it hurt, please. These are your brothers from the South. Your brothers and sisters from the South are begging you to please just, if you'd be so kind, make it a 2-1, even a 3-1. Go crazy. But my prediction is still Liverpool will win. But I'm praying to all the football gods and all the gods of the North that that they don't win.
Copy.
I'll take a draw, man. I'll take a draw. Hook it up.
I can only hope.
Like all the toffees at the bottom of my grandmother's handbag. Everton can forget about this one, okay? As you rightly said, they had their send-off at the stadium. This is at Anfield. All you have to do is look at the record there.
Yep.
Liverpool are flying. My boy, the Egyptian Sphinx, is playing well. I want to go back to that right back. This is what I want to say for Trent. I want him to say to all his Liverpool fans, you've given him everything. And I said, Eric said it right. So I think he's going to keep pushing. I think I agree. 2-0 with that one. It's a non-starter on that one for me. It's just they're too strong and too powerful. Everything will just brush aside here.
And then to round up our Premier League is a London derby. We have Tottenham versus Chelsea. Now, this is an interesting one because Tottenham could go to 16 losses on the season. That'll be quite sad. I mean, they're down in the bottom of the table, but 16 losses in one calendar year, and there's still 7 more matches left after this one. Is going to be something. Chelsea is fighting for one of those Champions League spots right now, but their season also hasn't been looking good. TC brought up his manager walking away after his squad lost in a behind the doors friendly against the U15 U16 team. Same thing happened to Chelsea. They lost, and they lost their day off due to that loss to the U15 team. So I'm seeing 2 uninspired squads. I'm seeing squads that are just trying to go through the motions before the end of the season. So I'm going to have to go with the draw. I'm going with a 1-all draw. It's just going to be a very uninspired type of match, even though it is a draw.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. They're both they're playing for next season right now. Tottenham is at 14th. They are 34 points, and it's abysmal. But what else do you expect from the Spurs? They're just, in all fairness, I don't usually do this for Tottenham. They've just been injury stricken throughout the whole year. They just want to do, imagine the team just want to get to the summer and get their redo. Chelsea, what more can you say? They're 4th out of pure talent, but it's still a very haphazard squad. They don't really know what's going on or who's supposed to be running things or running the ship or steering the ship is what we want to say. So Enzo Maresca still has, if I would be shocked if he doesn't make Champions League spot. Man City are right behind them with 1 point behind. So I think Man City can still take it. And Newcastle is also very close behind. So I don't think that they've got the winning mentality, the experience, or the age. Also, the cohesiveness of playing together as a squad to make Champions League. I think Newcastle and City are right behind them, and they're going to take it. Like you said, there's not many games left, and there's only so much that Enzo Maresca can do with his squad. With all that said, 1-1. Or it's boring. It'll be a boring match.
Sure. TC.
I think both of these managers are playing for their lives, essentially for their jobs. More, I think, at Tottenham from just what was just highly just outlined. What I do see though is that this is one of those marker games for both squads to really say like, hey, yeah, we are just moseying down to the end of the season, but we do want to play for the badge. So I'm kind of going for a Tottenham upset here. And I know Arsenal fans won't like this because you guys like to hate on Tottenham because they are rightly shit. Because they are shit. But I think what you do have is like you need to find out if your squad is playing for the manager. And I believe this is one of those games they have to. If they don't, this is it. You will see a new manager at Tottenham post this season. Number one, that's fact. Daniel Levy doesn't play games. Daniel Levy does not. Daniel Levy will fire you on the last day before the last game. Publicly. That is the kind of man that Daniel Levy is. So I know that people are getting screamed at before this Chelsea game because all eyes will be on this game. It's one of the only games on that day, if I'm not mistaken. Great London
It's the only,
Derby.
yeah.
It's the only, exactly. So I think you might see a bit more impetus. You might see this like an 18-year-old on prom night with his girlfriend on about to go to the hotel room. Excited. So I'm looking forward to a bit of that. That's what I've heard from my source at the training ground in London. Let's see. I'm going for a 2-1.
2-1 Tottenham. All right. Let me ask you guys, because last season, Spurs finished at 5th place with 66 points. That is obviously not going to happen this year. They won't even make close to that. They'll be lucky to get above top 10. Do you think Son, now that they lost Kane, do you think they'll lose Son? Or that he'll look for greener pastures? He lost his Thunder buddy, and he's not winning a cup anytime soon. Does he take his talent, pack his bags, and go somewhere new?
Well, we don't know if they aren't going to win a cup anytime soon. As we've been talking about, their best players are coming back, and they're still in the Europa League right now, and they're still fighting. So just like Manchester United, their own direct path to get Champions League football is through the Europa League right now. So it could be a very interesting end of season if they're both Manchester United and Tottenham are still in the final for the Europa League. That would be a very, very fun matchup, rife with so many storylines. But I don't see them going as far. I feel as though they'll get to the semifinal and lose. Apostacoglu will get fired and will put in a transfer request. Or Daniel Levy just cashes in. Son is essentially a depreciating asset on the field, and we know how Daniel Levy, the director of football for Tottenham, how he likes to operate. He likes to get out of player business a year or two early. He's done it with some of his best players as well as some of his worst. So I don't foresee Son's situation changing.
You know, I don't know. I think one of the reasons he was made captain was for that reason, was to keep him there. He's a very loyal guy. Him being a South Korean, it's not really more he gets paid enough. He's loved. He's in a place that he enjoys. So it's really about who they bring in to support him and who they can offload. So I was thinking about that. He's not one of those guys who'd be hungry to go. But Eric did hit something on the node about Daniel Levy being hungry and wanting to get the most out of it, which is something that he might do if the right offer comes in. The problem for Daniel Levy is the right offer for Son is like 120 million at the moment, which, let's be honest, at the moment, Son would be about, to an English club from Manchester, they'd make us pay like 80 to 90. To an Italian, Spanish club,
30, 40.
50 to 60.
You're bugging.
He doesn't have that burst anymore, guys. He doesn't have that burst.
Exactly.
Doesn't have that, but man,
So
I think he's just having one of those seasons. Like he's been injured as well. I think he's a class act. He's a class act.
For sure. He's a great ambassador of the club as well. He drives essentially all of their revenue over in Asia. Also, Arsenal versus Tottenham has just confirmed that there's going to be a friendly over in Asia this summer. So I'm sure they'll probably keep him for the commercial success.
Oh, just for the commercial success, for sure.
Facing off in Hong Kong in July. It'll be the first North London derby ever in to take place outside of the UK.
That's going to be a dope game.
For sure. And to lead into our main topic of the day, talking about strikers. Currently, what is going on with the striker shortage? Top-class strikers within the world of football right now. Want to preclude this before ceding to TC because he made a great point a few times this episode, and while pitching this to right now, widely considered the top 5 strikers in the world, can be found in the top 5 leagues in the world in Europe. We have Erling Haaland, we have Kylian Mbappe, Harry Kane, Lautaro Martinez, Victor Osimhen. You also have a few second tier emerging into the top tier. Victor Gyökeres, you have Alexander Isak, and you have a host of others that are vying for that spot to be considered one of the GOATs. But why is it so small right now? Why is that pool of players so small? Is that something that we're seeing coached out of the game? Are we seeing more multifaceted players come in and kind of muck up the entire inner workings of needing a top tier striker? Is it just not taught properly anymore? Do people no longer have the instincts to be able to take over and just score goals at will? So kind of wanted to give that preclude before we let the gents really talk about this. So I want to start with TC as he made a really good point bringing this topic to you all today.
Thank you, Eric. Yeah, I think you touched on something in your preamble there. Is really about a number of things. One is, we're looking at the availability. You named a number of strikers. Now, number one, the amount of strikers that are available and for prices that are affordable to clubs. My club, for one, can't afford a lot of the strikers. Even if we wanted to buy Isaac, that guy's 100 and something million. Facts. He will be 100 and something million. A number of all the other strikers price out of range because of the amount or the economy of how less there are of those good strikers. That is something to consider. So price. The other thing is, you mentioned it, the evolution of the game. We are seeing, and you mentioned some of the players you mentioned, or rather some players you didn't mention, like Salah, who are not necessarily out-and-out strikers, but are consistently scoring out, topping the charts and scoring. That's because we no longer, the responsibility of goals is no longer just thrust upon the striker. It's thrust upon forwards that are able to play across the front line. Or your main man, your hero, your legend, the guy who's coming back right now. Number 7 for Arsenal, example.
Yeah.
Great player, plays on that right, scores an enormous amount for Arsenal. Is he a striker? No, but he's a forward. Do you understand what I mean? And he's doing the job of how the team is set up to do that. one of the teams that need a striker is Arsenal. Is that because they don't have one in order to change the gameplay? You know what I mean? So these are things that you're looking at because what a striker does, let's look at teams that have strikers. What that allows you, different kinds of strikers, please, there's different kinds, but what that allows you to do is have multiple game plans to go into a game. You can go in and look at hold up to have runners off that. You can look at early crosses going in behind the man. There are multiple things that you can play with the striker whose instinct is to get into behind or in front of the goals. Those are things you can't teach sometimes. So teams that are lacking that seem to be doing really well. What are the other teams that are doing really well without a striker, though? Liverpool. How are they managing without a striker, for example?
Yeah.
It's just to give you an example of where teams are struggling, they're looking for ones, but teams are also doing very, very well without one. So it really, it's, do you know, this question is just to show you an example of where it goes across, you know? Not all teams need one, but we do want one as an option to allow you to change your gameplay.
And I think that, this it's interesting because like when did this start? I was contemplating this when we were discussing this back a couple hours ago. When did this start? When did the striker change? And some could argue that it was Messi and CR7, right? Because they were really the ones that changed and started scoring goals ridiculously. And they were, I mean, yes, you could say Ronaldo plays a striker, but actually plays mostly on the left. Right. And now look at the game now. We look at so many of the most prolific strikers that we have, especially the likes of Harry Kane, Lewandowski. Like, they're now aging out. Yes, we've got the Haalands, who's just a natural born striker, and the Alexander Isaks. And they have done absolutely amazing this season. But to your point, I mean, it's just like, look at Arsenal. We lost 2 strikers and somehow we were still second. Like, Mikel Arteta and his mad, crazy scientist team figuring out a formula. And to your point, not all teams need them right now. They're able to adapt in a faster way than we've ever seen before. But a couple of years ago, if you lost your striker, the seasons were over. Season was over for you. Now, that's no longer the case. And Liverpool is the perfect example of that.
Would you guys be challenging? Sorry, Eric, before I interrupt. Would you guys be challenging? And I asked this, do you think you'd be challenging if you had a striker? Like a bit more closely, I'm asking because you lost to one of your wings.
If we had like Jesus, because I mean, or even Kai Havertz, we've not had a true striker. I think that's been Arsenal's problem. But last year, sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, to interject there, when Arsenal did have a top striker, Aubameyang, even though we didn't have the greatest of success, we still won a trophy. And that was based off of his individual brilliance. That was Arteta's first season. He came in and he was able to win a trophy based off of, he changed up the tactics a little bit from his predecessor, but still was able to work with a striker who bought in at the time to be able to win when they needed to. And that was, again, based off of brilliance. But it's hard to put everything on one player right now, or one player that we don't have right now, solely because we don't have it. Arsenal doesn't have it. Liverpool doesn't have an out-and-out striker, as TC is saying, but Mo Salah, who's their leading goal scorer, has 27 goals as well as 17 assists just within the Premier League this season. Some of the closest is Erling Haaland and Chris Wood from Nottingham Forest. He has 18 goals right now within the seasons. You can see having someone that is a proven goal scorer can get you into situations and positions that you normally do not have. You can only have so much with tactics. Sometimes you also need that individual brilliance to kind of carry you through in very grueling and very specific situations. We see it all of the time in international play. Whoever the top striker from the best squad is, outside of the Argentina match where Messi still was the best player and he's a little diminutive to be considered a striker, but he is playing the striker role for the Argentinian national team. And he was the best player, able to score a goal, killing it. Even in the World Cup final, going against Kylian Mbappe. All of those goals to keep France in that entire tie came from him, his brilliance. So it's, without having a striker is just very hard. And I'm more worried about like the growth of, or the pushing out of that entire type of player.
So I think it just depends on the kind of style that you want to play. And I think like when you're talking about, like, for instance, Messi is not a striker, and he plays as a roaming player who has just got the awareness and football IQ to be in the right place at the right time. Now I want to go through a list of strikers that I have here from a couple of the top leagues, so you can kind of list of just the names in your head. Some of them are all strikers that we know and across different teams. Top 5 in Germany, obviously. Harry Kane, you said he was aging. He's not aging. That's ageist of you. He's like 33. Patrick Schlick, Umar Mamouche, we had 15 goals before he left. He's still third over there. That was before he left. How they managed to snag him, I don't know. And then a whole bunch of other German names I don't want to mention or blasphemy right here. Looking at like Italy, your typical names aren't on there, actually, to be fair. I mean, Matteo Ratuk from Atalanta. Moise Keane, obviously playing great, saw him in internationals. Lookman, another one who was playing really great at Atalanta, just keeps churning out these kids. Marcus Thuram, Inter Milan, and Lautaro Martinez, like one of those. So those are all proven strikers. And then looking at this at front, my favorite one to look at right now, Ousmane Dembele.
Yeah.
Leading top goal scorer. Not really a striker, but plays across that front line. Another one, Mason Greenwood, 15, not necessarily there. Jonathan David at Lille, 14, and then Bradley Barcola, and then at Paris Saint-Germain, who's really like a left wing as well. And then Evan Gusson, who is sort of like a striker, but plays as a bit like a kind of left wing as well. So looking at France, a lot of those players are all kind of right winger, soccer, left, looking at all of those kind of things. So to your point, Eric, is it just a style that we've adopted because everyone wants to play this 4 with a 10 that can kind of drop, or a 9 that plays that drops to hold up play? And it's not necessarily to have a forward that comes back to link with your central AM, so you don't necessarily need a forward to hold up play. And that's what we're seeing a lot of. I'm not sure. We're seeing less headers. Is that because there's less forwards who are like going in for it? You know what I mean? They're dying out. The Ronaldos, that jump, we might not see those anymore. People don't like to do that. So I think it's interesting. But what I do know is that everyone is looking for a striker, regardless of where the game is going. Everyone wants a striker on their team. And I think we're still going to see that come back in. So I don't think it's going to die out. I think all we're seeing is that they're either too expensive or not available. But as contracts shift a bit around, we might see a bit more come available over the next 2 years, transfer seasons.
All right. Well, that was a pretty spirited debate. So wanted to let our listeners try to send in any of their thoughts on the change and how everything's going. But gents, that was a really good segment. Really, really happy we were able to kind of dive into that subject just a little bit more.
You're welcome.
Very robust discussion. Thank you, Eric. Really robust.
For sure. Now, before we close it out, want to bring up a very funny story that I've been reading about Arsenal. Somehow this always comes back, how TC definitely called us Netflix FC. You now have another reason to love Arsenal or hate Arsenal, as we have announced the launch of our own dating show.
Hell yeah.
It is called The Big Match, as potential dating matches will attend football matches in order to find their soulmates. In theory, 2 single people will meet up and bond over their shared love of football, with some contestants going to matches at the stadium to see if any sparks fly. Arsenal said in a statement, "Match days at Emirates Stadium are a time to connect with the beautiful game and each other. It's for this reason that we're launching a new dating show that celebrates how a shared love of football can prove a catalyst for an even deeper romance." I feel as though this was created after that viral social moment, seeing those 2 in the stands dancing while defeating Chelsea 5-1 or 5-0 that day?
5-1, yeah.
Yeah, I believe that thought process probably came from that, and then as well the success of all of these other dating shows that are going on, Temptation Island, Love is Blind, things like that. So, Vince, what do you think about this? Is it cringe, or is it something you watch?
I'm not gonna watch it. I can't watch this stuff. Will I give it a little bit of a peek purely because from an Arsenal fan point of view? Absolutely. Who in their damn mind? I think everyone in their mind thinks it'd be cool to meet your soulmate at an Arsenal match. And we made a movie about it. It was called Fever Pitch. And that's not how it works. All right? Like, you have to meet someone who does not like the game at all. You have to indoctrinate them. And to indoctrinate them, then you can do whatever you want. But if you meet someone at the game, then they're also ridiculously big fanatics, just like you'll be. And it just, I don't know. I just don't, I think this is going to be a lot of clickbait. It's going to make for some really great memes. But will I give it will I give it 1 episode? Yeah, that's about it. But they're going to have to find some really interesting characters to make sure they've got like enough of a diverse, group of men and women and everyone else that's going to be coming to the matches who all have to be like fanatics. It's going to be a shit show. And I can't.
It is going to be bigger than a shit show.
It's going to be ridiculous.
You have a whole bunch of deluded people who are trying to find love, who have been used to heartbreak, and their whole rigor is holy shit. You are just setting up psychotically deranged, deluded individuals to make and meet and then go through the shared journey of pain together. And then you're going to say this is going to work. Come on, AFTV and whoever's doing this, y'all need to wake up. Man.
AFTV
This
is
not
not
good.
associated with this.
This is
Amazon.
this is why you see couples, and I say this in jest, but also it's always beautiful to see couples in the real world who meet up and have this absolute the opposites, Leeds and Manchester United or Liverpool, for instance, because they live in Liverpool and Everton and Liverpool, because it's the opposites that keep them together. You have you deluded fans all going to a ball together to watch what happens. I've been to the Arsenal bars. I've seen what happens. No. It's not. All that's going to happen is we're going to have. You know what? The next show that's going to be is a show by Austin sitting there like Maury going, so tell us, why did you see what happened when you were because I started dating another Arsenal person. And that's what it's going to go to. You're going to see a whole bunch of spin-off shows because of this. It's going to be
So you're
Survivor
saying
next.
Arsene Wenger is going to be saying you are or you are not the father?
That's what you see what else you see where we're going with this? Then you're going to have Thierry Henry, like, you know what I mean? You're going to have a Dr. Phil version of freaking like
So if we have a
Cole.
Thierry Henry intervention style show, I don't know. I would definitely watch that. I'm actually a big fan of this idea, though. There's only so many ways to meet people and things that you care about. And as TC is saying, these people are going to be deluded for sure. And they already know a shared misery of not seeing their team win. So, yeah. So if you can do it together, what's wrong with it?
Absolutely.
Well, that is our show for the evening. It is Dem Boys Watch Footy. We do have some amazing guests coming on next week. We have 2 sportscasters coming on. One is coming from CBS Sports Galazzo, and then as well we have another coming from SNY in New York. So really excited for those 2 gentlemen to come on board to give us their perspective on broadcasting within soccer as well as sports across the globe. Really excited for that. But again, for the gentlemen here, Eric, Waja, and TC, really happy that you guys gave Dem Boys Watch Footy a listen. Thank you again. Have a great evening.
See you next time.
Thank you very much.